So, yeah. The theme is things are not what they seem. Now, if you have not heard, Bernie Sanders has been on this tour across the country. It is a Fight the Oligarchy tour. Now, Bernie has kind of done this before in the past, but this time I think he was really livid by the turnout of the 2024 presidential election and was just very vocal about that the Democratic Party needs to embrace a working class agenda. This tour in particular, though, he is attending these districts where, if I understand correctly, these are districts that Biden won in 2020, but Dems lost in 2024. So he's attending those districts to basically try to pull people back into the Democratic Party. That's really what this is about, because the oligarchy exists on both sides. So it says here that he's drawing huge crowds. Bernie Sanders emerges as the leader of the anti-Trump resistance. So he's still able to pull a crowd. Bernie Sanders is standing alone on the back of a pickup truck shouting into a bullhorn. So they said at this particular location in Detroit, a combined total of 9,000 people showed up for the rally. So Bernie is still able to get big crowds. I know, like when Bernie came to Boston, when I went to that rally, there was over 10,000 people at the Boston Common. So he's still able to do that. And he's being very vocal about the billionaire interest, billionaire money. And he says people need to fight back against that. Now, that's one side of the situation. He has now announced that AOC is going to be joining him. And I say this all to say that you're going to see a side of Bernie Sanders in this particular story that you may not have ever seen, and that many people online are calling out and they're not happy about it. But I feel that's actually who Bernie really is. And I think it was just a matter of time before more people started to see it. So now he says that AOC is going to be joining him along with them on this oligarchy tour. And I told you what this is really about, is to get people to come back into the Democratic Party. Listen.
Next week, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I will be going to Colorado, Nevada, Arizona to hold town meetings with working people. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because I believe that all over this country, people are profoundly disgusted with what is going on here in Washington, D.C. They see our great nation moving toward an oligarchy where Elon Musk and other billionaires are running the government. They're seeing the Trump administration moving us toward an authoritarian form of society, usurping the constitutional responsibilities of the Congress, challenging the courts. They're seeing the Republicans in Congress proposing to give massive tax breaks to billionaires, cut back on the needs of our veterans, cut back on Social Security, cut back on Medicaid, cut back on education, so that the rich can become even richer. And let me just tell you this. We're going to win this thing not here in Washington, D.C. We're going to win it when millions of people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, stand up and say, you know what, this is not the kind of government we want. So let us go forward together. Let's stand up. Let's fight back for a nation based on justice, not on greed. Let's go forward together. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So Bernie Sanders is now going to be joined by AOC to continue this oligarchy tour. It's hilarious. Both of them told you to vote for Kamala Harris, who happily took money from the oligarchy. Both of them told you to vote for Kamala Harris, who bragged about this on the debate stage, that she was endorsed by Goldman Sachs. So when they're talking about oligarchy, they're talking about oligarchy that's attached to the Republican Party. He's not calling out the oligarchy that's attached to the Democratic Party, because he's told you multiple times, 3 times now, to support those same people that support that oligarchy class. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and then, of course, Kamala Harris. Why is this important? This is important because when you go on a little bit further here, when we go back to what was happening in Gaza, Bernie had limitations about what he wanted to say about it, right? Like, he was willing to say, a lot of people have died. We need a ceasefire. We need to stop doing this. But he was not willing to call it a genocide. And I'm pointing this out because Bernie Sanders has a tendency to only go but so far. This is why I want to just scream when people call him radical. Bernie isn't really radical. Bernie, if you look at the policies that he supports or whatever, these are similar to what some countries like Denmark have. That's not radical, where you have other countries in the world where everybody has healthcare, et cetera. And I have argued time and time again that Bernie Sanders exists to prevent a third party movement from happening. He's been asked to participate in this multiple times and said no. He said no at the beginning of his campaign against Hillary Clinton, that if he lost, he would support Hillary Clinton. That is from the words of Jesse Ventura. But I take you back here, and this is connected to the video of him losing his shit on his own, towards his own supporters. Listen to this, just a reminder.
In your view, is what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide?
In my view, it is absolutely disgraceful, horrible, and I'm doing, as a United States Senator, everything I can to end it. And where I'm sitting is, and I don't know how many people know this, every year the United States provides about $3.5 billion in military aid to Israel. On top of that, there is a bill. I was supposed to be here earlier. Couldn't come because a bill came up for not just all for Israel, $95 billion, including $14 billion for Israel. And I have led the opposition to that. I do not want to see the United States complicit in what Netanyahu and his right-wing lunatic friends are doing right now to the Palestinian people. So my job right now is to support what the United Nations is trying to do, have a humanitarian ceasefire, see if we can get the humanitarian aid immediately in there, and work out, as complex and difficult as it is, some type of long-term solution to what's going on there.
But do you buy the South African case at the International Court of Justice that what Israel is doing in Gaza constitutes genocide or genocidal acts?
So this young woman is a journalist for Novara Media. I don't know if you guys follow them. They were really, really, really good on this particular issue. She had to ask him again. Listen to what he says.
I think, look, we can argue about definitions. It is horrible. Right now, 29,000 people have been killed, and some 70,000 have been injured. Some 65% of the housing units have been destroyed or damaged. And I am worried right now, and I almost wonder why I'm in the UK and not back in the US dealing with this stuff, is that we have hundreds of thousands of children are facing starvation. That's what I have to work on right now.
But if one agrees that it is a genocide, it means that other states have a legal right and duty to prevent genocidal acts being carried out.
But
do you see what she had to do? She's trying to walk him through it because he doesn't want to say genocide. And by the way, we have debunked those numbers multiple times on this show. The numbers were definitely underreported. The craziest thing is that when Trump was elected, he asked, I think this was an accident where he said, yeah, it's like only 1.5 million people left, which would mean that 500,000 people have been killed. That's what that would mean. And I told you those numbers weren't like correct. And they don't really want you to know the real numbers, because then they would have to admit that, yes, what Israel was doing was ethnic cleansing, was a genocide. But she's trying to walk him through it. And look at how nervous he gets.
Can talk about that. But what does that mean? I mean, in real terms, right now, what I am trying to do is what I think is probably maybe, and I can do it because I'm a senator. You can't. Right now, maybe, if we tell Mr. Netanyahu that he's not getting a check for $10 billion more to continue his aggressive action, he and his right-wing friends may decide it is not a good idea to continue to do that. So,
pause. So I'm going to tell you about a time when I saw him do this before. This statement from Bernie when he says, well, what does that mean? Right? When she's like, well, with the genocide, well, we can talk about what these terms mean. What does that mean? You know when I heard him say that before? It was back when he was running for president 2020, and he was being interviewed by multiple people at that time. And they asked him if he supported reparations for American descendants of slavery. And Bernie Sanders said, well, What does that mean? Let me tell you what that does there. That, oh, I don't really know, so I can't really respond bullshit. That's a typical politician response when they don't really want to get into any type of hot water on one side or the other. When he tells you that, oh, what does that really mean? That's a way for him not to really answer that question. Bernie Sanders knows exactly what reparations is, right? I think eventually he did respond and say, no, he didn't support it, but he knew exactly what they were talking about. Bernie Sanders knows exactly what genocide means. So this is his way of trying. I don't know if they got something on Bernie Sanders. Like sometimes I feel like they have something on him. By they, I mean the alphabet letter agencies. Sometimes I feel like there is something over Bernie Sanders' head, whether it has to do with him, whether it has to do with his family or what. I feel like there is something that they must have on him because he'll go but so far. But once he gets to that finish line, he'll turn right back around and go in the opposite direction. I'll let him finish here.
That's where I am coming from.
In addition to stopping the billions of dollars in military aid that Israel gets from the United States every year, would you back calls for a cultural, sporting, and economic boycott of Israel?
I am nervous about economic boycotts of any country, to be honest with you. But right now, what people want to do, they can do what they want to do. But right now, again, my job as a United States Senator, and I'm kind of leading that effort in the Senate, is to tell Netanyahu that he is not going to get any more U.S. aid.
Did you feel nervous?
Okay. So, and it goes on a little bit more there, but I think you guys can see what Bernie was trying to do. Now, I showed you all of that because I want to get to this. This is what just recently happened. Bernie Sanders was approached by his own supporters about the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. And I felt as though, and you can judge for yourself, that the way that they approached him was in a polite manner. They're not yelling at Bernie Sanders. They're not screaming at him. But I want you to see the way that he chooses to respond.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi.
Hey, we're really worried about Mahmoud Khalil out of Colombia.
Okay, excuse me.
Will you do?
Excuse me.
Will you do
Excuse
a
me.
statement?
Thank you.
Will you not? Will you put out a statement?
What did I just say? I've got to go to a rally now.
Excuse
me.
We're
just
walking with this you. This is really, really dire. This is means
it's urgent.
They're coming after this student.
It was they kidnapped him.
Hi, Bernie.
Watch this again.
Hey, we're really worried about Mahmoud Khalil out of.
Notice his behavior changes once they mention Mahmoud Khalil. At first, when they say, hi, Bernie, he's like, hi, watch this.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi.
Hey, we're really worried about Mahmoud Khalil out of Colombia.
Okay, excuse me.
You see this? He doesn't want to talk about it. It's not just, oh, I need to get to this rally. No, that's an excuse, a way to get away from you. He doesn't want to talk about Mahmoud Khalil. He doesn't want to call for the freeing of Mahmoud Khalil. This is what I was trying to tell you about how he only goes so far. I think about this, the people who signed that letter, Jasmine Crockett even signed that letter to free Mahmoud Khalil. But Bernie won't even talk about it. He don't even want to hear. Once he heard his name, I gotta go. Excuse me.
We're worried about Mahmoud Khalil out of Colombia.
Okay, excuse me.
Will you do?
Excuse me.
Will you do
Excuse
a
me.
statement?
Thank you.
Will you not? Will you put out a statement?
What did I just say? I've got to go to a rally now.
Excuse me.
That, in my opinion, that's who Bernie Sanders is. I think that's the real Bernie Sanders that you just saw right there. What did I just say? Now, in your opinion, were those protesters, were those, they're Bernie supporters, were they mean to him? Did they yell at him? Did they call Bernie a name? No. Why does Bernie have an attitude? Remember what I told you about not being nice to these politicians? They've had plenty of times to do what they're supposed to do, and they're supposed to work for you. Bernie doesn't take corporate money. So what's he running away from? What's the excuse? Why is he so nasty to them? What I tell you guys, these people, it's fake. It's so fake. Now, here's the statement right here that he said, no, Mr. President. It says Bernie puts this statement up 2 hours after this. No, Mr. President, you cannot illegally arrest and detain legal U.S. residents because of their political views or opinion. In America, we have a little something called First Amendment. Throwing protesters in jail is yet another step on the path to authoritarianism. But you know what I noticed even with that? Notice he won't mention Mahmoud Khalil's name. When you say protesters, that could apply to anybody. Mahmoud isn't the only one that's been detained. Other people have been arrested as well. So you see how he's trying to cover his ass? This is who people think was going to fight for them. Instead of treating us like that, he could have just said yes. Nasty attitude.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Will you put out a statement?
What did I just say? I've got to go to a rally now. Excuse me.
We're
just walking with
this
you.
Is really, really dire. This means
it's urgent.
They're coming after this student.
It was they illegally kidnapped him.
There goes your fighter, ladies and gentlemen, running away. Running away, very nasty for all these politicians that say, oh, you guys need to be nicer towards us. They were nice towards Bernie. Look how nasty he was towards them. It's not about being nice or not. Now, there is a recent video that just emerged of Mahmoud Khalil being taken by ICE. I want to show you guys this.
What? You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay,
Stop
let's
resisting.
not.
Stop resisting.
Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand, he's not resisting.
Put your arm
Like,
there's no need for this. Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry. I'm coming with you. Don't worry. No one's resisting. No one's getting worked up.
you guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
It's fine. It's fine.
حبيبي كيف بدي اتصل فيك؟
Call Amy.
Okay. Hi, Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. Then what should I do? I don't know. Noor.
Now, from what I understand, I believe she's 8 months pregnant.
Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Of can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Go over there. No, we don't give our name.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally running away from me.
So yeah, that video has now been released, so you guys can see how the events took place. And that's important because at any given time, they'll try to say, oh, he resisted or he tried to fight or whatever. As you can see in that video, that was definitely not the case. So it's great that we have that video. They said they were taking him to Federal Plaza, but he ended up in Louisiana. That was the last time he was seen. Green card holder, permanent resident again. And that's who Bernie Sanders didn't really want to spend time talking about. I got to get to a rally. Got to get to a rally to tell people to go back into the Democratic Party. That's really what this is. So when people say that Bernie is sheepdogging people, that's what they mean. He's just keeping you in that same system that he is, so I guess he was supposedly fighting against, but he wasn't really fighting against it. If I tell you, like, don't support the billionaire class, fight back against that. And then after the DNC cheats me twice in a row, I say, oh, go ahead and vote for those people that support the billionaire class. Am I really trying to fight against it? No. I'm just recruiting more people for the Democratic Party. He's a recruiter. But I think what you saw in that video there, I think that's the real Bernie. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.